Oh, wonderful.
Ibrahim. So, how many is?
Mantas.
Have you got any
And you, sir?
Soviets for these plates?
Very good point, actually. Let me find out. Do we have
What is your
Soviet?
name, sir?
Or plates?
Evan.
Evan.
Yeah.
Wow, wonderful name. Evan.
Soviet.
And the lady, what is your name?
Perfect.
Catherine.
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 Wow, Catherine.
Catherine the Great.
Wow, wonderful. Katerina.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Right. We already seem to know each other.
Almost.
Okay. All good?
Yes.
Amazing.
Alright, so how about this? Let's start with first introducing us and who we are. So at least we know who is who. Let me just start with myself first. My name is Ripon, and I'll be your trainer for this morning. And any questions, any queries to do with money, I'll be guiding you in the process. I know being in Britain is difficult, especially when you don't have a home. If you do get home, sooner or later you do think about forming your own family, think about paying your bills, thinking about how money works in Britain, and also if you're struggling financially, how you can generally go about sorting things out for yourself. So really today is all about that. Yes, it's about money management, but it's also about some of the things that we haven't yet thought about, and it's related to money and how money actually works here. I'm not sure how many of you have born here. Even if you have born here, you still have difficulties. So that's me anyway. Now how about this? It's time for you to tell me more about yourself. How about yourself, sir? What is your name and what brings you here?
My name is Evan.
Evan? Go
I
ahead.
need to sort out money.
Okay?
Working currently, but staying friends and what have you, so I need to get on with my life. I need to get money issues sorted before.
Okay, what do you want to get out of today?
Well, I primarily want to know how credit references work.
Great. Go
How
ahead.
you can, I don't know, it's impossible to save when you don't have a home.
Saving. Okay, good. Any other?
I think that's it for now. I think.
Thank you, Evans. How about yourself? Go ahead. Your name and what do you want to get out of from this?
I'm Catherine, and I want to get out of it because I'm in debt
Okay.
with my council tax.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I want to know how to go around sorting it out.
Great. How about yourself?
I am Mantas.
Mantas.
M-I.
M-I.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
M-T.
N-T.
R-S.
R-S. Mantas.
Yes.
Mantas. And what would you like to get out of today's session?
Good question. I have a job, but I know more about everything.
Any specifics?
Specific? For now, I don't have specific.
That's not a problem. Hopefully the conversation will help you to understand a bit more. How about yourself, sir?
Okay, I'm Abraham.
Okay.
I want to know how to get out in debt.
Okay. Mark, do you want to join the game?
What do I want to get out of it?
About
No, really. I'm always interested in money saving tips.
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough. Money saving
Yeah.
tips. Good.
Cheap
Okay. Money saving tips. Okay. How about yourself, your name and
My name is Victor,
Yep.
and I have interest for the universal credit. It's the first time when I meet, so I need to know everything about.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Interesting. Okay, universal credit. Go ahead.
Hallo, guten Tag, mein Name ist Luca. Ich bin hier wegen, dass ich möchte mich interessieren wegen des internationalen Menschen, dass ich schon, dass sie kommen von der verschiedenen Welt zufälligerweise die eigenes, dass man schon möchte, ist, dass der Menschen nicht diskriminiert wird. Es ist sehr wichtig, dass man schon in der Gesellschaft, jeder hat so eine Chance in die Gesellschaft zu integrieren. Zufälligerweise, ich habe das gemerkt, es gibt schon diese Probleme zwischen Briten und Deutschen. Wenn man schon die Briten geht in Deutschland, die haben schon dieses Rechtsanspruch zu der Sozialleistung. Aber wenn der Deutsche kommt in England, das ist schon to be or not to be. Sagen wir, es ist maybe. Es ist genau dasselbe wie dieser Mensch, dass man schon, die wollte immer diese Sozialleistung zu beantragen. Und zufälligerweise musste man schon dieses, yes sir.
How about in simple English?
Ah, yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Go ahead.
Yes.
We like German, but
Yes,
English
yes,
for now.
yes, yes. Es ist about chance to live and to work. If you have a choice, take it. 100% is yours.
Okay.
And about young people, I don't accept so much young people homeless.
Okay.
This is my big problem because I have one young man for my face, and I talk about, do you want to work? He said to me yes, and I give you to work in the shack. And it is very, very happy. And I am happy because first is the young people in UK.
Yeah.
I want to, from government does the more do it for young people.
Yeah.
Because this is the future about your pension.
Yeah.
And about not discrimination.
Thank you, Luca. You won't be discriminated over here. How about that?
Thank you very much.
Good. All right. So today what we're getting, and hopefully all the things that you've talked about, I may not be able to cover everything, but I will go through it because of the short period of time and so many topics you've covered. You will definitely be getting topics around debt, how you'll be dealing with debt, because that's my specialism. You will also be learning about how to budget and the importance of budgeting, especially if you're thinking of moving on and having a stable life. Budgeting initially and thereon is going to be crucial. And of course, some of you have also mentioned about saving and how you save. Now, the tips that you'll be getting from me around saving is really around survival kit. So in a sense, if you have a home, how do you save money on your electricity bills, gas bills, and water bills? So really things that are connected with security of your home. Because I know most of you, concern is around home, isn't it? Am I right? Definitely. Is it right? So that's why anything I'll be talking about, it's going to be linked with home. Now, you probably see a couple of things on the table. Now, you've got this, which you've got this that you'll be using to brainstorm, and it may not be as clear cut, but it is, so bear with me. So this is what I did last night for you. Yeah? So this will be using, that you'll be using to jot things down. Yeah, you got that. You also have a budget sheet. Can you see a budget sheet there?
Yes.
Budget sheet.
Oh, budget sheet.
Budget sheet.
Okay.
Actually, it's that pink one. They ought to be like, yeah.
I can take some more copies of these.
Yeah, yes, please. I think there's ought to be enough for all. I think 6 or 7. There's one over there.
Yes.
That's it. There ought to be another one. Yeah.
Who needs one?
This gentleman's got 2. You can pick one. There we go.
I did one.
Oh yeah, and here we go.
Thank
There we
you.
go. Now this worksheet isn't very difficult. It isn't very difficult at all. It's very simple. It's just that because you've had tough times, you're just having to see things really. So that's what it's all about. So it's just seeing things in a simple kind of way. So first topic is about budgeting. Now let's move on to this sheet and look where it says budgeting. Yeah, look for budgeting for me. Go and look for budgeting. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah? Page the thing where it says budgeting. Now, I want you to think for yourself, why do you think budgeting is important? Why do you budget? What's the reason for budgeting?
To save.
Well, what kind of savings are we talking about? There we go.
Budgeting.
Yes. Think
Spread
about
out the
something.
money costs.
Put it down for me. Put it down on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it down. And if you want to work with your neighbour, do that as well. Go ahead. Work with your neighbour. Why do you budget? Yeah, work with your neighbour. Either 2s or 3s and find out why do you budget. And once you've done that, talk amongst yourselves why it is important.
Okay.
Yeah? There we go. Yeah.
Budgeting. Save on money costs, would you say? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Catherine, yeah, talk to mentors. Ask him as well. You know, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Am I putting in the right words? Saving.
So yeah, budgeting. Go ahead. Why is it important? Yeah. Why does
So
it
the
matter?
money can spread out throughout the whole.
Go ahead. Say it loud if you have to. Go ahead. Say it loud. Go ahead. Why do you budget?
We can talk in the group.
Yeah. Go ahead. Why do you budget? Why do you budget?
To spread out the money.
So spread out money. I'll put it. Go ahead. Spread
Yeah.
out. I'm afraid my handwriting isn't that. But you know, it is what it is.
I know, so that you don't spend what you can't afford.
Okay.
You
So.
don't spend money you don't have.
So, okay, don't spend what you don't have. What else? Go ahead. Or would it be fair to say spend what you have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spend within your limit.
Okay. What else? Go ahead. Anything else?
What? If you don't have enough,
Very good one. Okay. Okay. So what happens then? So why would budgeting be useful?
You never know, you may need it for something else.
Yeah. Such as what?
I mean, you can have a sickness or something and you're gonna be in trouble if you don't have any savings.
Okay. So another word. Would that be fair to say this?
Planning for future.
Yeah? Go ahead. What else?
I just thought,
What do you think?
sorry, I just thought, because Victor just said, and what if you don't have enough? So I suppose the point of budgeting is if you don't have enough, if you have more expenses than you actually have money,
Yeah.
then to prioritise what is most urgent. If you can't pay for everything, what can you not avoid paying for? What's essential?
So another word, by budgeting, you can prioritize your bills. Is that what you mean? Is there anything else? Any other words that you can think of? Go ahead. How about yourself? Go ahead.
I have
Go
one
on,
idea. I have idea.
What's the idea? Is that grand?
I think about this. Only one people have so much chance. You have here to washing, you have here clothes,
Yeah.
you have everything, and maybe the businessman come over there, here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and looking face and face,
Yeah.
and then do it contract about work,
Okay.
and when you have very good work, about 28 pound an hour, 32 pound an hour, it's looking good.
Okay.
And about okay, this is everything okay, do it contract, and you have clothing, you have work clothing, you have a bus, you have a chance about food one month, and this is very big chance.
So Luca, would that be fair to say it would come under prioritizing your bills? Food, washing bills, other things you pay, would that be linked with prioritizing your bills?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay in this.
Any other? Go ahead, you've got lots of stuff. Go ahead.
No, I wrote down what's on the board.
Okay, go ahead. Ibrahim, you've been fairly quiet. Any
My brain today is not working.
Go ahead.
With budget, I'm not, but maybe as we proceed,
Yeah.
I'll-
Any ideas why you might budget?
with what is on the board is
Yeah.
It makes you to plan well.
Okay.
And you know what to spend money. You don't just waste your money.
Yeah. Do you? That's good. So no wasting money. Fantastic. I'll put that definitely. See, you got ideas. No wasting. Okay. Now, does anyone have families abroad? Any friends, families abroad? You know? Families in Sierra Leone, Poland, any other places? Yeah?
Deutschland.
Deutschland, do you have family?
Yes.
How do you think, do you have family? How do you think saving or budgeting would help with families?
This is just one chance. Good money for your work. Not like £5 an hour, like a 28 pound, like a 32 pound an hour, 38 pound an hour.
All right.
And I think about it, your job, you must do it not 100%, and 150%, because it's quality.
Okay.
And this is much money.
So it's important to obviously get more money. Good. And we all want more money. But when it comes to budgeting, think about it. The moment we budget, what we're actually doing is we're planning what we have. Yeah. The moment we plan what we have, we can also plan for other things. So when I say you visiting your family members in places that you're from, I'm trying to say is really things like holidays, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, isn't it? Think about it. If you want to go to X, Y, and Z, Berlin, or some other places, or Warsaw, or whatever it may be, how can you plan your holiday if you don't budget? So that's what it is. So really, it's all about, in a sense of organizing yourself financially, and that's what I'm trying to say. So that's what budgeting is all about. So especially when you have low income. Some of you, I understand, I think mentors have told me earlier on, that when you work awkward hours, different shifts. Yeah? So when you're working the various hours, it may vary. So what budgeting does, you can average things out. Let's say, for example, if, let's say 1 week you're getting one amount of salary, another week you're getting another set of salaries. The moment you start budgeting, where 1 week you're getting more than other week, you start planning ahead. And also, when you're not getting enough money, the week that you actually got more, you can set aside through planning to make sure the week that you're getting less, you can compensate, you can make up for it. And that's what budgeting is really all about. So it's really, that's why it's worth you having a check, the way you go about and budget. Now what I want to know from you, really, having dealt with all those things, and we looked at why you would budget, what I want you to look at is how do you plan your budget? So we looked at why. Now the question is how. Now you've got a balance. I've given you a financial statement. Have you had a look at financial statement? That pink one. Sorry that it doesn't look very pretty, but so long as it does the job, that's all I care, you know. So this is where I want you to actually tell me how you budget. You might get your universal credit, right? You might get your salary, right? You might get it weekly, and we know universal credit is monthly. That's for sure. In fact, you probably say leave it there for universal credit. So really, what I want to know, practically, financially, what life is like for you. I'm a money guy. So in everything we talk about, it has to be linked with numbers and money. And I want you to make a record as to how you manage your money. So here, it's a way I want you to write what
you are of our money.
Yes, how do you plan your money? Go ahead, every single one. Talk out loud among yourselves, talk with friends if you have to. Spend a few minutes talking about it. Brits don't like talking about money. Go ahead. They don't like it. Who gets income monthly?
Monthly.
Okay. Who gets it weekly? So is it fair for us to say that this budget ought to be done monthly? that means you have to budget even more because your income has to go a long way.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Go ahead. Think about the money that you spend on.
But it's different when you have family, when you are alone, it's different about budget. You cannot take the money from the children and do it your holiday. It's not possible. And it's just very, very different to what is important. Because I see too much young people homeless. Because the mama or the papa take the money from the children, and the children, they have nothing.
So look at here.
Yes, sir.
I want you to tell me how much you spend on food, on travel, on gas, electricity, and so here, income here, and your food here. Okay, so tell me what you get.
This is food.
So so here, if you're doing it weekly, put it weekly. If you're doing it monthly, so let's do it monthly for you, whatever it is. So your income here, income, and then expenses here.
Everything what you give here, not
Everything you get here, everything you give there. Yes. Good.
Einkommen, Auskommen.
There we go. Well done. It's really to make you think. Income here, expenses here.
This is what we pay out, yeah?
Income here, expenses here.
Yeah.
Yes? Income here, expenses here. So this goes here. Food here, travel here, and then salary here. Good.
First is the here is the
Yes,
food. Income.
Yeah. What is the income?
Yes, this is the first is the home, electricity.
There?
Oh, that.
So you
Yeah.
put food, and you have a voucher, accommodation, you have
Some of you may have gas bill and electricity bill combined.
Some is expensive, some is cheap. Oh no.
It depends. When you're at work, you get free bills. So I suppose you can then tick those off. You don't have to worry about them, and think what meals you have to buy yourself. So maybe breakfast, maybe an evening meal.
I think this breakfast is more meal. Because later in job you get food.
You get the food then, yeah. And it depends on your situation, because there are soup runs and places where they give free food. But then when you are working and when you are earning, then you can choose what you want to eat and buy food, maybe from the supermarket. But if you can work out what you would spend roughly on, say, breakfast and evening meal, then you can multiply that by 7 and you get each week.
How's it looking? Did I make you think?
Yes.
What sort of things were you thinking?
I
Go ahead.
I was just putting my bills in order, what I pay out directly when I do get my money on that day.
Okay.
The first prioritise ones.
Alright, so first thing is first, you know your income is coming in.
Yeah.
I suspect the income is gross, isn't it? After tax. After tax, you get your salary or universal credit, and then it's about what the hell do you do when you get the bill? So, yeah, simple as that, isn't it? So, now, from the top of your head, every single one of you, engage in a dialogue with me. What sort of bills do you think about you have to pay?
Electric,
Electric?
gas,
Gas?
rental rates.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Let's talk about bills. We'll talk
Oh,
about that
okay.
later.
Forget this.
Food, okay.
We've had fun, haven't we?
We have phones.
Travel.
Look, travel, there we go. Yeah. But of course you're paying that, actually. Obviously. Go ahead. Anything else? So what we have? So
Buy clothes.
So we talked about food. Yeah, food. We talked about travel. We talked about gas, electric. What else? Must be lots. Come on.
Food. Oh, you done food. Clothes.
Clothes. Yeah, clothes.
Phone.
Toiletries.
Phone.
Yeah.
Toiletries will come with food, innit?
Sorry, my spelling rubbish.
Yeah.
Maybe like
Children.
products as well.
Papa, give me. Papa, give me 20 pounds. Papa, give me 50 pounds. Papa, give me 30
Anything
pounds.
else?
I need in the school.
Boss, go ahead. Anything else?
And stuff like washing powder and
Yeah.
Washing powder. Washing powder. Must be lots more. Come on, you must think of washing powder. Okay,
You
duh.
can buy bedding.
Huh?
New sheets. Bedding.
Okay, so yeah, things.
Towels.
Yeah, towels.
Holiday money.
Very
As it's been time
Okay.
fresh.
Holiday money.
Okay, so
Give the children holiday money.
Yeah.
Every child have money.
yeah,
Who have
Pocket
children?
Yeah. McDonald's money.
food. Yeah, it's all food related to food.
What's it different? McDonald's is different.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, obviously the list could be indefinite, isn't there? But there is a limit to how much you can spend. But naturally, can you think over here? What would be the priority bills? Just in the important things.
Theater.
Food and travel.
Food, travel. Yeah, if you have to go to work, it's important.
Travel.
Gas,
Yes.
electricity. I mean, these days, some might even say phone has become a big thing, isn't it? It's like a necessity.
Yes, without
It's necessary.
It's important.
Necessary. Communication.
Literally, it's best to have a phone than not to have a friend.
Communication.
So yeah, you could say.
Would
This
you
is-
guys
yeah.
pick on the phone if you don't have a
You
friend?
know,
Maybe.
yeah.
Papa, Mama, how do you do?
Yeah.
It's okay. Are you good?
Now, does anyone spend a lot of money on like takeaways and eating out?
From time to time. Depends on the season of the year.
Yeah.
Because I remember, Catherine, when we were talking once, because you were working at the time, and you didn't want to make sandwiches because you prefer getting the food out.
Yes.
Which
Yeah,
everyone does, you know.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
I mean, since we talked about budgeting, remember? You know, spread out, planning the future. And now we've done a budget sheet ourselves. Now, can you think of like any specific things that you want to get out in the long term? Like maybe a holiday to wherever really. Yeah. Can you now look at, by looking at your budget sheet, anything you can cut down to save for future?
Cut down on my clothes.
Yeah? Have a look at your budget sheet. I mean, does it look as though you got so much spare cash going?
No.
What's going on?
Not at the moment until I'm working.
Yeah. And has anyone got lots of cash going? Evans? How's yours looking?
Mine is pretty much food, bills,
Yeah?
luggage, debt, and that's it.
It's all gone.
Okay.
By the time I've
Now
done
let's
it.
put this aside for now. We'll come back to it next time, which is coming later actually. If you take that away, so tell me, okay, are you feeling embarrassed talking about your budget sheet, or can we talk about it? Tell me, what's your income?
And between 40 1400, 1500.
Speak up louder.
14 to 1500.
That's per month. Okay, so the moment you get the money, what the first thing, what do you do?
Pay my wife. I need to get food. I just pay for food.
Okay.
I pay my bills.
Okay. So what sort of bills are we talking about here?
Phone bills, which is what else? Yeah, that's it. Phone bills and bit of, well, I'm staying with friends, so I'm giving them some money too. So I don't want to take advantage of their so however long I'm staying there, I just give them a bit of money. Even though some of them say you don't need to give to I'd rather give you some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say then, for you, the most important thing in the future would be to get a permanent accommodation?
Yes.
Yeah? So really then, your focus when it comes to the budget sheet for long-term purpose would be to secure a deposit, isn't it?
Yes.
Deposit for a rental home.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
Yes.
Is anyone else maybe in that same situation where you're not quite sure how to get onto a renting ladder because the landlord wants you to have that deposit? Yeah? Anyone else in that situation? So then budgeting will help, must say. Partly because you have to pay your basic bills, but yes, you are paying your friend a bit to make sure you're not taking a mickey, you're not taking a piss, and also by living in someone's place, you are already using their things like gas, electricity, water. It's not free, and also the mess that you're making. Obviously, your friend can tolerate it for some time, but for you, it's not nice. It just isn't. Is anyone else in that situation? No?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet?
But maybe.
Does anyone else want to share their experience why you want to budget and maybe save for something? Mintus? Go on. I mean, you're in a similar kind of situation, aren't you?
Like kind of.
Yeah? What's the situation?
I'm in a situation like that. I come in this country.
Yeah.
First job.
Yeah.
They said took from airport. I waiting 2-3 hours, nothing, not calling, not taking me. I try calling, nothing. Later I come in here. I know about this center. They help me.
Yeah.
I find the job because I want to save my bills.
Yeah.
Later find the place we're living.
Yep.
When I find the place we're living, then I can plan how I can make money.
Yeah.
For rent, for food, for clothes, for everything.
Yeah. Do you have a bank account?
Yes.
What kind of bank account is it?
Monzo.
Right. Okay. So Monzo has quite a good scheme actually. We'll talk about Monzo a bit later. Any other reasons? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I think about it is too much people seeing discrimination.
All right.
About you go in the account, in the bank, and they say, no thanks, no thanks, because you're looking not like a millionaire. And I don't know. I have interesting about your 2 pounds, 20 pounds, 20p, what do you have? And you have no chance.
Yeah.
Because everything, the system is about account. And this is the discrimination.
Yeah.
I think about it. Everyone, every people, she have right account.
Yeah.
The government must talking with all the bank, the people, she have right account.
Yeah.
The first. When you have account, you are in the system. You have no bank account, no system.
Yeah.
And Monzo is just only one bank. You can do it online.
Yeah.
Yes.
You exist here.
Yes.
You
I
exist
send
here.
your documents.
There's a couple of others actually. There's Starling and there's Monies, but I know what you mean. They are only just beginning to.
This is the step by step. But So first step is stopping, and this is discrimination. About
Yeah. Believe me, in one way or another, most folks over here have experienced that.
Yeah.
So you're in the same club.
And I'll tell you another thing,
Yeah.
Rika, is that as well, if you cannot open a bank account and you have to live in like a cash-based economy, then most organisations that are selling something, they put prices up when you're using cash as well. So you know, if you have to get a prepayment card for your electricity meter, for instance, it's always more expensive than if you pay by direct debit, and you can only pay by direct debit if you have a bank account.
That is true. No, that is true. In this case, now, just to kind of sum up with budgeting and then moving on to savings, but obviously that's what you are interested in as well. Budgeting becomes easy naturally as you plan ahead. And it makes it also exciting and interesting when you have a goal. That's why I asked most of you, is there anything that you want to look forward to? For some of you, it might be a holiday. And for many of you, it could be a deposit for a home. These days, private landlords, mate, they want deposit first. And so how do you prepare for that? If you budget, it will help a great deal. Especially when you're dealing with it on a monthly basis. You've got 30 days to look forward to. The moment you get it, that salary has to go a long way. If you plan ahead, it makes it a much, much easier. There are lots of apps out there that you can actually download if you really want to prepare yourself. But the bulk standard process is doing what we've just done now. Once you know what your income is, you know what your expenses are, making sure you put aside some money to make sure it goes into your savings account, whichever form it is, and then let that income accumulate for that deposit. Simple as that.
right.
Yeah, simple as that. I mean, we can talk about this account, that account, we can talk about let's try this bank account. In the end, if you have that mentality, you're nearly there to secure yourself a permanent home. That's all I'm interested in. It's the basic stuff. This isn't something hardcore. Yeah? So then, you've got your home. You've got your deposit sorted. Now you need to think about ways to save money for that home, especially in the context of gas or electricity. So now, has anyone is currently paying for gas? Are you paying for gas?
Yes.
So who's your gas company?
I've changed over from British Gas. I'm with another company now.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of the name.
Go ahead. There's quite a few. Power, British Gas.
No,
Yeah.
it's a new company.
Yeah.
Boost.
Yeah.
Boost, their name is.
Boost. Okay. Any other? Boost.
I do my gas and electricity with them on I pay as you go.
Okay. Power, pay as you go. We'll put that. So does anyone know the difference between meter, variables, and fixed rates? So pay as you go is basically prepayment meter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put on a card.
Does anyone know what pay as you go is? Prepayment meter? When you are, let's say, have an agreement with a gas company or an electricity company, even with a water company, there's a number of agreements you could have. You could have, don't forget when you have a home of your own, where you have to pay your bills. Yeah. If you're a tenant, you have to pay your bills. Naturally. Hopefully you will be a tenant soon. So then you need to prioritize your bills. So one of the bills is gas bill, electricity bill. So if you're cooking, you either have gas or electricity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So when you enter into an agreement with a company, they may say it's a fixed agreement, i.e. fixed for 2 years or even 18 months or a year. It could be variables agreement, i.e. standard variables. Does anyone know what standard variables mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, let's say, when you don't have a fixed term agreement with a company, automatically they put you on a variable tariff. So in other words, varies subject to the fluctuation in the economy, amongst other things. So usually, because you have not entered into an agreement with the company, they put you on their standard variable tariff. Usually, standard variable tariffs are more expensive because you have not entered into an agreement with them for a fixed period of time where the cost is going to be lower because you've already bulk bought it. Are we clear now the difference between fixed term, variable terms? Now let's talk more. Let's to get our head clear. Yeah, and of course prepayment meter. Are we clear yet? You'll be having a home soon. If you're going to be having a home, you need to get used to with these stuff. Yeah, because that's what will make you independent and debt-free, basically. If you start organizing your life, if you know how to pay your bills, you'll be fine. So, let's talk more about these things, because today's topic is pretty much about survival, not about, what's out there in the market. It's about what's going to be the best deal for you when you're at home in order for you to survive. Yeah, otherwise you won't be here. So, here's what it is. You moved into your property. You know you're going to be using your gas. When you approach the gas company to say, I want the best deal, they will then say, okay, how much do you use roughly? You probably will say, I have no clue. But then they'll ask you, are you single? Will you be living by yourself? How often you might have a shower? How often you might have a bath? And also, how frequently are you at home? Do you use your gas more in the daytime or at night? Combination of all those things will determine how much gas you will use. Yeah? So then they'll say, okay, do you want a fixed rate? A person like you, in that scenario, we think you should be going for fixed rate because it fixes the price of per kilowatts for you, so therefore it will be lower. Yeah. And that low amount will only be for a certain period of time, usually for like a year, 18 months. So usually, by default, you should be going for fixed rate because when it comes to fixed rate, a gas company, an electricity company should always, by law, tell you the cheapest rate for you. Yeah, that's what they have to do. But in reality, that may not be the case, but that's what they should be doing. Yeah. So it's for you to ask, what is the cheapest rate? So in this case, fixed rate is meant to be cheapest. Yeah. But when you don't have a fixed rate, or it moves to then variable rates is like basically this default one. You don't have fixed rate because you have not entered into an agreement with them for a fixed period of time that is lower based on the scenario. Automatically, it goes to variable rates and that costs more. That's their default cost. Go ahead, Luca. Go ahead, you tell me.
I have one idea.
What's the idea?
Another one job.
Job will fix everything, absolutely, and you will find your job when it's right for you. Yeah, definitely. That's why you're here. Absolutely. So now, what does anyone know about prepayment meter? No? Go ahead. You've got the experience. Tell us all.
Prepayment meters.
Go on.
When you got, like, say this is your gas card or gas electricity card.
Yeah.
And how much you want to put on that card depends on how much electric you use every week.
Yes.
How much gas?
There's somebody here who's arrived a bit late. I don't know if it's too late for her to join the group. She had to work,
if you want to sit down,
work a bit late.
That's good. Go ahead, sit down. Do we have a seat? Here we are.
You sure? Because I could, I would sit next to
Yeah, go ahead. Please do sit down. Go ahead. So, may I take a name, madam?
Oh, it's okay.
Because
There we go, perfect. Please do come in.
Oh, you have to go.
Ah, okay. Oh, you take the roll. That's it. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Off you go. Take care, Luca.
yes, sir.
You
thank
take
very
care.
much.
Well done, you. Well done, you, for coming and sharing your experience with us. Oh, yeah, yeah. What does it do?
No need actually, because I didn't.
You take care. You take
Don't worry.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, clearly we have another Luca. What's in the name? Sorry?
My name is Aya Kamina.
Zayeka.
Aya.
Aya. A-I-J-A. Aya.
Yes.
Perfect.
Is my cup of coffee?
Sorry? Of course, please do. Come on. Have some cakes, have some biscuits. Yeah, there's tea, coffees over there. Yeah, go ahead. So Aya, what we've talked about so far is how to budget, the meaning of budget, yeah. We also filled in one of the budget sheets over here. I know this is Lucas. Go ahead. Yes?
I forget my cookie.
Oh, please do take your cookie. Cookie is more important than anything else.
And Robbie marches on its stomach.
Yes. There you go. Well done. Yeah, he likes his chocolate, obviously. Look, look at that. He's a pig, isn't he? He's a pig. There we are. Here you go. Aya, this is what Luca has filled in on behalf of you. There we go. Filled in for you. There we go. Yeah, take a yeah, you can have it. Yeah, this is what we did. So we
It's an example budget.
This is example.
Example budget, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So now we moved on to saving, especially saving to do with gas, electricity, and water. Yeah. So we talked about fixed term agreement with your gas or electricity company. We talked about variable terms with your gas and electricity company. Now we moved on to prepayment. So this is where Catherine was sharing her experience of prepayment meters. So Catherine, go ahead.
Yes, so as I get my universal credit monthly, so I top up my gas and electric cards.
Okay. So, I mean, so how do you top it up then?
I take it to the petrol station or to the local shop.
Right.
How do you know how much to put on it each time?
Because in the summertime, I use less, I don't really use much heating, so I know what to put in the summer, but winter time for the gas, even though I have to top up for the hot water, but I put less in the summer. And the electric is the same all year throughout what I put.
And if the credit on the card runs out, does everything just...
We get emergency.
I do.
Yes,
Yeah.
the gas and electricity.
Yes.
Gas and electricity, you get emergency.
Yeah, something like, I think, £10 per its buffer. You won't go off automatically, straight away, but you do have to top it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get £5 on each, like £5 gas emergency, electric.
Yes.
But when you use that emergency, you have to put that back with what you pay, with what you use every month.
So if you then get £20 of credit, when you put the card in, the $5's gone straight
That's
away.
okay. Yes.
Right.
So then also tell us, why are you on prepayment?
Because I had a bill from my former house, so that bill came over to where I'm living now. So I've nearly cleared it now. But I asked them, can I go on straight gas and electricity? But they said, yeah, I've cleared the gas one, that's okay. But they're saying I have to pay £200 for them to come and take out the meter, and they have to do a, what do you call it, a check. Credit check, that's it.
Oh, right.
So each meter, for them to remove the gas and electricity, for me to go on straight gas and electric, I have to pay £200 on each meter.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
For them to replace the meters?
Yeah.
So interesting that you mentioned about credit agencies and file, which we'll cover. So, yeah?
So, I'm gobsmacked. So they can't just put you onto a fixed rate tariff. You can't just change your tariff because you need a different meter if you're not going to prepay. Is that right?
Yeah.
They would need to change your meter if you switch to.
Yeah, like as I'm on pay as you go now,
Yeah.
if I wanted to, which I do want to,
Yeah.
for the meter comes all the time, I want to go on. Like the electric's no problem, but the gas I want to go on straight gas, so I can have constant heating.
Yeah.
And straight gas, you mean where you get a monthly bill or a quarterly bill and you pay it through your bank account, you mean? So not pay as you go anymore.
No, I want to go on straight. And what it is as well, what I've just realised, because I'm on Boost now, I was on British Gas, then I changed for another company.
Yeah.
But that company must have closed down. I don't know what happened to it, so they put me on Boost.
Yeah.
So now with Boost, as I mentioned, I don't know if I have to pay that £200, so I have to double check now. So I
Very
might.
good point. Okay, we'll actually you raised quite a good one in terms of at what point can you change?
Yeah.
That's an important one.
Yeah.
So definitely it shouldn't stop you from changing from one supplier to another. But they do actually. In fact, even if your bills are less than £500, they should not stop you from switching. And if they stop you from switching, what you should be doing is making a complaint against them internally at first, and then move to the Ofgem. Do you know who Ofgem is?
Who?
Ofgem.
No, that's the government regulator.
That's the government regulator for energy suppliers.
Okay.
So that's what you should be doing. So, in fact, over here, if you switch on, say, your suppliers, gas or electricity, on average, you can save something like £300 per year. That's pretty much according to Ofgem anyway. And if you have a prepayment meter, you should still be able to switch. That shouldn't stop you. Even if you're in arrears up to £500 with your gas or electricity. So that's what I'm trying to say. If they say no, first thing you should be doing is making a complaint internally. Every supplier has an internal process where you can complain. If that doesn't work, Ofgem wants to know about it. Ofgem wants to hear your complaint. So, what you should be doing then, look at Ofgem, here we are, Ofgem.
Ofgem in, as in G.
Here we go. Here we are,
GEM,
Ofgem.
I think, yeah.
There we are. Here we go. Complain about gas or
First I've heard about this.
electric supply. There we go. They want to know about your complaint. Ofgem. Yeah? That's what it is. So you make a complaint. So even if you're on prepayment meter, and if you want to switch suppliers because you want to save money and your debt is less than £500 with gas or electricity company, you have the right to switch your supplier. And if this supplier says no, 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 you say yes, 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 and I want to make a complaint. You follow your internal process. I hope you're learning. I was useful. Yeah, first thing you must do is follow your internal process, and then you make a complaint to the Ofgem. And here it says, before you make a complaint to us, if you have a complaint against us, you should contact them first. And if nothing has happened, you come to us. Complain by email, writing, phone, whatever. Yeah? Not many people know about this, but hopefully now you do.
First time I've heard.
Yeah? So that's something that you need to think about is don't be afraid to make a complaint, because every single complaint you make against a supplier, the supplier has to notify the regulator, and the regulator will keep a record saying this company is getting too many complaints, there must be something wrong with the company. You see? That's what it is. So the rule is exactly the same for gas and for electricity. Any other questions? I know we talked about switching. Obviously, Catherine, you've got experience of ways to switch. How do you switch? Have you tried switching?
Well, with my company, when I left British Gas, what it was, I didn't intend to leave them. I got somebody knocked on my door, well, rang my bell, and they're asking me how much do I pay for British Gas and blah blah. Yeah. So their tariff was cheaper than British Gas.
Yeah.
So that's why I changed over.
Yeah. Now, best way to find out, actually, the best deal for you, go for U-Switch. This site is free. This site is free switch. I mean, you can also check Ofgem's website. Ofgem is the regulator. The regulator also has details where you can look at which is the best deal. But if you just put your postcode, let's say whatever, I'll do mine for now. 9, whatever, it doesn't matter which one it is. And then, your supply, your gas and electricity, your usage, gas usage, all this stuff, once it fills in all those things, it will give you a list of, so there we are. It will give you a list of your potential cheap supplies that you can get. Now the thing is, most people don't actually switch. Because you don't switch, you're stuck with what you're paying. And do you remember I told you about fixed term and variables? Fixed term initially is cheaper, but once that's out of the way, it goes straight to variable terms, and variable terms end up being expensive. So therefore, you pay more. Because many people don't negotiate another fixed term agreement, and if you don't, you end up paying more. And also, if you don't switch, you end up paying more even. And that's the thing, really. So that's why I want you to think about when it comes to home anyway. That's gas and electricity. And the water is quite similar. With water, in a sense, with water, again, you may have a fixed rate, i.e. annually you might pay, I don't know, £400 or something. But if you're using so little, why do you need to pay £400? That's why it's worth giving a meter reading of your water usage to find out whether if you can switch to a different supplier, or whether you want a different types of agreement instead of a fixed agreement. That's what we're looking at. Go ahead.
Thames Water, you can't change to another company, can you?
Well, that's the thing though, that's a weird one. Also, the same rules around other fuel companies. They dominate the area. That's why some say, oh, there ought to be competition. But really, it's only one pipe, for God's sake. How many competitors can you have through one pipe? That's a weird one. It's really weird, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things. If you look at price comparison sites, and avoid looking at just simply one, look at quite a few, you probably get a feel of what's going on over here. So that's kind of pretty much about savings linked with gas, electricity, and water. Okay? Now, I know most of you are here for talking about debt. So let's just move on to debt right now. Yeah? So, yeah? Debt. No, I'm just glad that you're quite interactive.
Water meter, that's saving money.
Yeah.
I've got a water meter.
Yeah. Is it better?
Much cheaper, yeah, because I live on my own.
So you have to pay for your water as you go?
You pay for your water, you still get the same quarterly bills, but instead of paying just the regular standing charge, whatever that is, if you live on your own, it's always going to be cheaper to just pay for the water you use. So yeah, mine's dropped by, I don't know, £10 a month or something. So
there we are. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for sharing this. Does anyone else want to share any other tips around bills and things? Go ahead. Aya?
I don't remember anything much about it. I tried to pay my electricity and rent.
Yeah?
It's a responsibility to pay them.
Of course. So, I mean, she's right. She's right.
Real responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's something you can't avoid paying. Ripon's
Cannot avoid it.
No, it's you know, utilities bills are unavoidable. Ripon's been talking about saving money by switching your supplier.
Yeah.
I don't know, so they're not paying for gas as such, but for electricity. And there is included electricity stuff.
Maybe your property does not have gas?
It seems to me that no, it appears.
Mine
There is
doesn't.
boiler, I know that it's heating water, but can't do anything about that. Not much.
My property has only electricity, so even the water is heated with electricity. It may
Water is
be,
heated with electricity.
yeah, maybe you don't have gas. It's possible.
Some places don't have.
Yeah.
The heating of
Yeah.
More than one.
the heating in the house.
The heating is electricity. Yeah. There's a heater in the hot water tank.
That's when it's coming a lot of money.
So if you check a couple of sites, it's sorted, basically. They'll ask you for your postcode, they'll ask you for a bank statement, they'll ask you for who your supplier is, they'll ask you about who do you live with, do you live alone. Simple as that. Very simple stuff we're dealing with. Really, really simple. Yeah. There's quite a few. Yeah, that's all you can do. Yeah. So we looked at the energy switching site. We also looked at U-switch. It's a simple one. Everyone's got their U-switch. Yeah. Here we go. For free. Free.
What's the phone number?
0800 049
Sorry, 0800. Yeah.
049 9722.
Thank you. 972.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are. So we covered gas and electricity. Now let's move on to debt. Yes, that's my specialty, obviously. Now, yeah, turn to the page where it says let's look. Causes of getting into debt. Can you think of what your cause might be? This is where you can bring in your own experience.
Addiction.
Oh, write that down.
I was trying to keep money on me. I don't want to pay the bill, at least a reader. And it can result not paying you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because the money is wasted, so.
Okay.
Maybe even without any sense.
So, any ideas? Ideas, please. I want ideas.
Could be fines.
Go to coffee store, exit for
Fines.
When we say fined, why were you fined?
Oh, I mean, actually, I wasn't, but you can be. I mean, I'm not actually. I've been charged several times for my parking, that's my weakness. You know, I park in the wrong bay or something, and I get £100 fine through the post. But, a lot of our clients get fines for jumping the barriers, you know, on the trains or getting on the back door of a bus and not paying, that kind of thing. And transport for London are quite nasty as well.
So travel expenses.
I better pay travel expense. I'm thinking by myself and try to get in the bus without paying.
Any of them.
Sometimes honestly say driver mistakenly without the ticket because they don't have money. And the drivers did it, and no one refused me.
They can never refuse you.
But I had to talk to them or something.
They actually let you?
Yes, because it's better to say honestly than the driver speak, because the driver says who is coming with a ticket in the bus. And if the control comes and he pays a penalty.
Wow.
Causes of debt? Come on, you must have experience. Who's in debt? Who's in debt?
Are you in debt?
Anyone else? Okay, anyone else? Alright, so what's your cause?
My cause? What debt am I in now?
What is your, not what debt, but what's caused your debt? We're going to what's causing your debt?
Overspending.
There we are. Overspending. Did someone mention also gambling?
I said addictions.
Addiction, that's good. Anything else? Come on.
Loans. I mean, you could have borrowed money. You could have a payday loan or something.
But why would you borrow it? We're looking at the
Because the money is wasted.
underlying reason.
Because you're broke.
Yeah, we talk about this, but what caused you? There's always a reason for it. What is it? Go on. Come on.
Somebody did not use their money.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of you. I get the feeling if we add all 7 of it
I went to
together,
borrow.
we'll put it to about 200 years of experience. I tell you what, 200 of living experience. Come on.
Why did you get into that?
Yeah, come on.
I said that you overspend.
Credit cards.
But why are you in debt with credit
Because
cards?
you're borrowing.
Because not responsible.
What people get
Oh.
paid and what.
So,
What's the
we talked
expense?
about avoiding paying, avoiding.
Paying.
We talked about overspending. We talked about addiction. Come on,
Could be losing your job, couldn't it?
There we are, losing job. Now, there are certain things you are not in control of. Losing your job is one of those things. Losing your job. Yeah? Anything else? That could also mean redundancy. Redundancy. It happens.
You can fall ill.
Illness. Fantastic. Does anyone know what these mean? What does redundancy
Commit suicide.
You can commit suicide. You don't want to do that? Obviously.
No, I guess I remember like somebody is big in debt.
Mark, can you explain to us what redundancy means?
Redundancy, well, that would be if your employers say your job no longer exists, so they're cutting back on staff maybe. So it's not the same as sacking you if they, maybe you don't turn up for work or something, so they dismiss you. It's redundancy, they have to prove that your job no longer exists because they are maybe reducing the number of staff and positions, or they are restructuring the organisation.
So what happens when you do get made redundant? How do you get paid?
Well, there's a statutory regulation for employers to give you a minimum amount of redundancy pay, but it's not very much.
Oh, okay, it could be like a couple of months.
Well, if you're lucky, to be honest, yeah. I mean, the minimum is something like, I don't know, but it's like something like, a couple of a week for every year you've worked there or something like that. It's really not much.
Yeah, there are a number of factors play a part. Your age, obviously the older worker is more likely to have difficulties getting a job. So age will play a part when it comes to redundancy amount you're getting, as well as number of years you work for the employer. So both combined together, you'll be getting a package. If you work for 2 years and your age is whatever, it's depending upon how many years you worked here, as well as the notice period. Really. So on average, if you talk about, let's say you've been here for a year, if you're a young worker, it might be a week's salary. Yeah, but if you're an older worker, it could be a week and a half salary. So it's not only that much, but it only increases if you've been working for an employer for a very long time. That's when the redundancy pay is more. But if it's like a couple of years, it isn't much. It's probably similar to your notice period. Standard question. Yeah. So okay. So illness. So anything else that may be caused? Well, you know all. You know it.
I know sometimes people don't get paid for the work they do. A lot of our clients find some really dodgy jobs with some really dodgy employers, and then maybe they just pay them in cash, or if you don't keep a copy of your timesheets, you can end up with your employer saying you haven't worked as many hours as you know you have worked, and they pay you for what they say you've worked.
Yeah. So do you want to word it for me? So let's put it in here.
Underpayment?
Underpayment. Would it be fair for me to say something like, also 0 hours contract, 0 hours, low income, all those things.
Also, what about with benefits as well? If you get sanctioned?
There we go. Benefits sanctioned. Fantastic. Good. Anything else?
When you being due as well.
Sorry?
If you are being due, as in if you are being robbed of your money.
Oh right, it happens quite easily, absolutely. Oh well, that's got isn't it? Do you know the?
Oh yeah. Sure. Oh, it's the internet.
Oh, is it internet? Right, okay.
But
okay. Now how about relationship background? relationship background. We know that's a big thing.
Say that again?
Relationship background.
Okay.
Relationship breakdown.
Yeah.
Because when you break up from a relationship, obviously there's an issue about custody, moving out of the property, finding a new property, cost of it all. And mentally, there's so many things going on there. I mean, does anyone have experience of relationship breakdown? Go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, in terms of debt, my relationship breakdown cost me 16 years of maintenance payments for my son. Which is a debt. I mean, it's not like you owe it all in one, but you're paying every month. It's something you've got a budget for.
Absolutely. And the causes are so many. It could be bereavement. Think about it. If someone you lost your loved one, and you've been with this loved one for some years, suddenly that person's no longer there. So obviously, how would it be like you? Psychologically, you have to adjust, but actually, are you adjusting properly? As a result, you're not concentrating on your bills and other things. Then you get into that. So the causes are zillions, and we probably don't have the list at all. Yeah. So now I want you to think about types of debts.
Actually, there's another one.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just if you're a migrant to the UK and you don't have any entitlement to benefits, then if you're not working or if you're not able to work, you're in a really difficult
absolutely.
situation.
No, I agree.
No income whatsoever.
Absolutely. So basically, no job. You know. That's it. No job, no benefit.
I was in such situation.
That's it.
Because I don't help people when I came to work in England, it was betting business. When I wanted to earn money, what to repay back. So they left me on street. Without employment and without personal.
Go on, Ibrahim. You put your hand up. You put your hand up.
Just giving tip to someone.
Go ahead. Isha, any more? Any other ideas? Go ahead. Evan, you've been quiet.
No. Just credit cards, living expenses.
You
know.
There we go. Yeah, cost of living is high. High in London, obviously. Let's be honest about it. It's very high. Isn't it?
That's what they said.
Yeah, it's very high.
But like this is high was it was. It's not very discount.
Yeah. It's very high. So we know the causes. Now, does everyone know all the words? Do you know what benefit sanctioning means? Does
So
anyone know? Yeah.
Sometimes 3 years.
Yeah. Does anyone know overspending? What that means? Yeah.
Somebody went to store about everything at once. Season done.
Exactly. You spend too much. How about relationship breakdown? Does everyone know what that means? Good. Fine. Now tell me about. Good. Well, fine, Fernando. Now tell me about types of debt. Types of debt. Yeah. Name types of debt. Go ahead. Types of debt. Now, most of you have experience with it, and I know, Evans, you've got a credit reference agency issue, which will come into debate. Go ahead. So, types of debt. Types. You know what? I think I'm listening to my voice too much. I want to hear your voices. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Fines and loans.
Yeah. So fines, loans. Anything else? I would prefer to hear your voices than mine.
She's overspending.
Not why, but types.
Oh,
I know Catherine mentioned actually earlier about her debt. Remember?
My debt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gas bill.
Gas bill? Okay, gas. But you need to talk about council tax as well.
Yes, definitely council tax. That's a massive one for me.
A lot of people who come here have got big council tax arrears.
That's what I was telling Ripon when I first came in. That's my main problem is my council tax.
And And it could be rent arrears as well.
There we are. Rent arrears. I know you wanted to talk about rent arrears before. Do you remember that?
No, council tax.
Council tax. Okay. Rent
It was
arrears.
council tax. I'm okay with my rent arrears. I've sorted that out.
Good. Good. Anything else? There must be loads more. You talked about child maintenance.
Yeah.
Child maintenance.
Yeah.
Anything else? Come on.
Credit
List
card.
it all. Credit card.
bills.
Credit card. Anything else? There must be loads more. Come on. I want to see this filled with stuff. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Think about it. Literally anything you just don't pay is a debt, isn't it? Anything. Could be anything.
But it's just not fair.
Come on. Loads more. That's not enough. That's just rubbish.
And they can become bigger and bigger, like transport fine.
Oh yeah, transport. Yeah, we can talk about transport fine and penalty. Yeah, penalty
Up to
charge.
£1,000.
Yeah.
Some people get into mobile phone debt.
Yeah, telephone,
If
absolutely.
you've got a phone contract and you
Television license.
That's a good one. Well done, you're full of ideas. TV license. Go ahead. Come on, more. There must be more.
Debt, when you borrow money from your family.
Family. There we go. Family, friend.
That is first the priority.
Oh, God. Anything else? There's still quite one in there. Go ahead.
HMRC are the paying and then saying you owe them money.
Sorry?
HMRC are
Fantastic. Yes, HMRC. Now, HMRC. You know what HMRC deals with? Does anyone know what HMRC deals with? Tax. Tax. Anything else?
Like inland revenue.
Huh?
Inland revenue.
Inland revenue. What does inland revenue deal with?
They give the tax return.
Yes. So, HMRC. Okay, HMRC deals with tax in terms of your tax. HMRC, does anyone have children?
Yes.
Does anyone get child tax credit? Working tax credit?
No, but the tax credits do come from HMRC, don't they?
There we are. So we are also dealing with overpayment of tax credit.
So you could also have a debt to the DWP.
You
if
can
you've
also,
been overpaid
yes.
benefits.
Definitely.
That's
I
what
was
borrow
having
from borrow from university.
I was having
Borrow
this
from
problem.
university and don't pay it back.
Exactly. That's a debt, yeah.
Housing benefit, overpayment, you get that?
Yeah.
Council tax, we talked about as well.
I was having this situation with the tax credit, so they overpay me like £800 and then they were charging me every month to give the money back. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like, it wasn't my fault, you know, because me, I received the money in the bank account from them.
Yeah.
And actually, honestly, I didn't know it. It's over, you know, and they keep paying me like for a couple of months.
Yep.
4 months, yeah. And I wake up with the letter, you need to give £865.
I guess
back.
no.
And I was like, for what? And when I was checking with Sean here, he was like, okay, you need to do it. Yeah. And after 7 months, I finished with them.
Wow.
So every single month, they was taking me £60.
It's quite a lot.
Which is a lot, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other experience to share? Yeah? I mean, we've got quite a lot here, by the way. Now, out of all this, can you tell me, by looking at your budget sheet, and that's why I kind of asked you to do it.
Actually, Ripon, I just thought of another one, because I don't think it applies to anyone here, but a lot of our clients, they register self-employed. Because they get, instead of a 0 hours contract, almost even worse, they get offered a job that's on a self-employed basis. So you don't even get a minimum wage necessarily, you get paid by the amount of work you do. And to do that, they have to register as self-employed. But then they forget in the years to come. And if you don't submit a tax return every year, you get a massive fine from HMRC for not submitting your tax return. And half the time, people who use the service, they've forgotten they ever registered as self-employed.
Yeah, that's true. So HMRC can, fine you. Or penalty, really, isn't it? Penalty. Penalty for not serving your tax return form in time. Anything else? We know why people get into debt. We know the types of debt. Now, what I want you to tell me, which is priority debt, because we've looked at your expenses and income, don't forget, and which is non-priority debt. And tell me why it's priority and why it's not priority. Because it's all about trying to make sure the tiny, minute income you have, that income goes a long way. And for that, we need to prioritize your debts. Because you can't pay everything all at once.
No.
Since you can't, how do you prioritize? So first thing we need to look at is priority of debts. So we've got all those things. Now I'll put priority next to debts that are important and non-priority that are important. So you tell me whether it's priority or not. Now, court fine, is that priority?
Yes.
Why?
Because if you don't pay the court fine, they will take you back to court. You could go to prison.
So really, it's the prison, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll put that priority. Does anyone know what court fine is?
Yeah, you could have avoided it in the first place. We could have avoided the court fine in the first place. So
you could have avoided it, you're right. But what can you do? You have to pay up there. Do you see?
Later or sooner you need pay.
Do you see? Okay. You could have avoided it. Fantastic. But now you're in a mess. What do you do?
you have to pay.
Yeah. So how about loan? Is that priority?
Yes.
Why?
Because you can get surcharged.
You get
surcharged. You can get added on.
It's easy to borrow, very difficult.
No, you're wrong.
Huh?
I'll put non-priority. You're wrong.
Loan is not a priority to pay.
No. Now, the reason loan and credit card are non-priority, yes, if you don't pay these, they will report back to credit reference agencies to say you haven't paid. Yes, they will take you to court, but you don't lose your home, you don't go to jail, and they don't disconnect your gas or electricity.
They just
So in other words, yes, they make the loan company, credit card company, telephone company will contact the credit reference agencies. So in the future, if you want to get another loan, they will check the credit report to see if you are credit worthy. And if the answer is no, you're not credit worthy, they won't lend you a loan. But it doesn't mean you'll be losing gas, losing your home, losing your freedom. That's how you determine is priority or not.
Sorry, I have something on my back here, so
That's
I'm just getting a bit.
Hey, it's fine. So now, what do you think would happen? Let's say
Rent arrears is very serious.
Why rent arrears is serious? Why is it serious?
Rent arrears because if you haven't paid your rent and you go to court and they give you an agreement, like an arrears, you can pay it off a certain amount if you get paid weekly or monthly, and you don't pay it, they will take your home from you.
What does that mean?
You'll be homeless.
What does that mean?
Homeless.
What does that mean?
Do
you want to be homeless?
No.
So therefore, when you have debts, right, what you must do is prioritize your debts, and the things that you must be paying is rent arrears, council tax arrears, court fines, and gas and electricity bill.
Can I ask a question? You see council tax?
Yeah.
For example, if you've got an arrears for council tax, put it this way, when the arrears you've sorted out already, you've got an agreement with them and you're not paying off your arrears. So the council tax now, can they take your home from you? I know rent arrears they can.
No, they can't. because what happens is, if you don't pay your council tax, they will take you to court for sure.
And what happens if you don't go to court?
They'll still get a summons against you and get a liability order against you. They have to do that in order to enforce or undertake any enforcement action in the future, but there is no danger of you losing home. What they can do, the ultimate sanction could be is take you back to court and ask the court to imprison you. That's what could happen. So you can be in prison for up to 6 months.
Really?
Yes, it's one of the old historical thing where you don't pay your tax, and when it comes to council tax anyway, the magistrate court has the power to imprison.
So what happens when they do send enforcement people to your house? What happens there?
So when we talk about enforcement, we're talking about bailiffs, aren't we?
Yes.
Does anyone know what bailiff is?
Well, what is? Oh, bailiff.
They take away your furniture.
I mean, who are they? Who are they? Who is a bailiff?
Private companies contracted by whoever you owe money to go and collect the money for them.
Okay.
Basically, they sell your debt to them.
Okay.
That's what it is. You don't have to engage them if you don't want to.
They can't
But that's
force
a
it to your
different
house.
story.
Okay. Does anyone follow what's going on? You know what's
Bailiffs
going
are
on?
employed by the courts, aren't they? Generally.
Yeah. I mean, there are many different types of bailiffs. There is high court enforcement. There is recovery officers. They're not bailiffs, but they're here to recover money. You've got your counter court enforcement officers. With councils, they instruct like a number of firms of private companies that are instructed to recover council tax only. Yeah. So there are a number of different types. It depends upon the creditor, and how the creditor wants to recover the money will depend upon what kind of bailiffs will come at your door. Yeah. So if it's a high court enforcement, they're quite aggressive. They look slightly militaristic. Yeah. They don't take no for an answer. If it's about council tax recovery bailiff, although they can be quite similar, in fact, the charges are kind of set by rules anyway. So what they can do is charge a specific amount of money. Yeah. And yes, you're right. If you don't open the door, if you don't allow them in, they can't forcefully enter the property. They also ought to realize that if you have health problems, if you've got kids, they need to be extra careful. If they're not extra careful, you can generally make a complaint against them. Yeah, you can do that for sure. So yes, when it comes to council tax, they can take it to court. The council can think about, okay, how is the best way for us to recover the money? If the person is working, they will talk about attachment from earnings. If you're working, obviously you've got a salary, haven't you?
What happens if you're not working?
If you're not working, if you're on benefit, for example, they can ask DWP to recover from universal credit.
Okay.
You see? Or let's say if you've got a home, you own your home, hopefully you want to be a homeowner in the future. If you do, and you own property, they may even think about charging order, and even in worse scenarios, bankruptcy. So the council has a number of options, but imprisonment is the last option. Yeah? So, what we do, when we find out debts, first thing we'll identify what kind of debts there are. Rent arrears you deal with, gas bill you deal with, council tax you deal with, fines you deal with. Things that are not priority are telephone bill. Do you know why the telephone bill isn't priority? Why is that?
Why it's not?
Why it's not priority? Come on.
What is going to happen if you don't pay? If you have contract and you don't pay?
Okay, what do you think is going to
If you
happen?
don't have money to pay, for example?
What's that? The telephone?
Yes.
Cut off.
Okay, they'll cut you off, so no phone. What else can they do?
What do you mean house phone or mobile?
Both. Exactly the same. They'll disconnect you, so no more phones. Fine. What else? Come on.
They can't do much. Yeah, they'll send you, that's the same, you want some money,
Obviously, they'll report to the credit reference agencies.
Yes,
They do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they'll do that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else they'll do? They may take you to court. They may even sell your debt to a debt collection company. Does anyone know what a debt collection company is?
I've heard about them, but I've never really took any notice.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not exactly the same as similar. They will come and say to you, you owe us money. You don't owe them money. They've sold someone has sold your debt to them.
Yeah.
So they have to go and collect the money because if they don't make any money.
All right.
So it happens a lot. We often get people coming in here, saying, "Can you help me phone these people or something?" Because they're saying I owe them money and I don't know who they are. They don't even know what the debt is for. But it's because they did have a debt and it was sold to a debt collection agency, and you don't know the name of the debt collection agency. You suddenly get a contact from an organisation you've never heard of.
Yeah. Can someone tell me the difference between a debt collection company and a bailiff?
A debt collection company is a private company, or is it bailiffs are appointed by courts?
Both are private. Both could be private. So that's not an issue.
Does the debt collection agency get a fee from the creditor?
Okay. So, any other ideas? Come on.
They're the same.
What do you think is their responsibility in the end?
To collect money.
There we go. So both are here to collect money. That's true. Now, with debt collection company, they just bought the debt from the original creditor. That could mean the telephone company, loan company, credit card company, overpayment of benefit, whatever. Yeah. Usually deal with non-priority creditors. Loans, credit card, phone bills, overpayment of benefit, whatever. Not necessarily for rent arrears, council tax arrears, nothing like that. And that's when we deal with debt collection company. Bailiff, in order for it to get to bailiff, it has to go through the court process. That's how you instruct a bailiff. So when you don't pay your council tax, the council will instruct a bailiff through the courts.
Then what do they do?
So they will come to your home and say, look, you better pay the bill, council tax, plus you better pay our fee for us coming over here, because the council has instructed us to recover their bill and our bill.
And what happens if you don't pay that?
If you don't pay it, what they'll usually try to do is obviously enter your home, or if you're in a car outside, seize your car, sell those things, and recover the money.
But what I'm saying, if they can't enter your home, what would happen the next?
Now, if they can't enter your home, and they have not been successful at entering your home, there's nothing else they can do. Go back and come back again. And usually, they have an agreement with the council that they'll hold your account for a specific period of time. If they're not successful, the case will go back to the council, and then the council will think about other ways of recovering. Attachment from earnings, take you back to court for imprisonment, or whatever you might be. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's really it. So bailiff is more of a through the court process enforcer. In fact, you're in debt collection company. Once it's taken your case through the courts, can instruct a bailiff to recover. So now, do you know the difference between a debt collection company and a bailiff? What is it? So that's kind of what it is really when it comes to how we deal with the debt. Now, when we're dealing with, let's say for example, ways of dealing with it, obviously you need to prioritize. We talked about that. Gas bill you prioritize, electricity you prioritize, rent you prioritize, council tax you prioritize. When it comes to options of dealing with debt, there are several. You may want to write off the debt. You may want to pay a reduced payment. Any, let's say, companies that you have agreement with, payday loan company, credit card company, all these companies, can we go through the thing? Is it possible?
Oh, sorry. Internet is the password.
Oh, so is it capital I?
No, all lowercase.
Internet. Okay. So now, here it is. Now, we are now moving away from gas, electricity, rent, council tax. Now we're looking at FCA. Does anyone know what FCA is? Or who FCA is?
Never heard of them.
Financial Conduct Authority,
Yeah? So basically, every lender that lends money in Britain has to get authorization from this organization. So, Financial Conduct Authority oversees the behavior of financial institutions. Yeah? So, let's say, for example, a payday lender is lending too much, that is making your life hell. This organization will fine them, will prosecute them, will penalize them. So really, any lender lends money has to lend you in a responsible way. So this lender, this organization oversees how lenders behave. Any conflict you have with a lender, to do with loans or credit card, and if you're not happy with their behavior because they've been aggressive or whatever, you are entitled to complain against that lender. Not to this. This organization will overall check whether the company ought to be running or not. But any individual complaint, you may want to contact if it's lending and borrowing conflict. Financial Ombudsman Service. Let's say they're overcharging you. You think it's unfair. Complain to the Financial Ombudsman Service. PPR claims. You've got you've been missold by a company, a lender, and they shouldn't have sold you. You think you're owed money. You complain to the Financial Ombudsman Service. Now you probably heard recently that banks and financial institutions have been misled a lot of individuals. You must have seen on TV about PPR claims. There's a huge industry around PPR claims. What that means, basically, banks have charged you like a fee regularly for so many years without you knowing it, or your situation doesn't fit the insurance that you bought, and they've been charging you for so many years. Now, there have been lots of complaints against banks, and in order for you to get your charges back, if they don't give you, you can make a complaint against these companies to the Financial Ombudsman Service, and the Financial Ombudsman Service will look at individual cases to see whether the bank should give your money back. Yeah? So any conflict between you and the lender, you can contact the Financial Ombudsman Service. And I've said a lot, didn't I? Covered a lot. I mean, maybe we ought to summarize soon. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of pretty much it, really. Is there any other questions that you might have to do with your personal situation or anything that we covered?
Business universal credit accepts rent arrears from landlord.
Sorry?
What way the universal credit pays to rent arrears to landlord?
So, just so I understand it, the question is, in what way universal credit pays rent arrears to your landlord? Is that right?
Yes.
Good. Now, the way universal credit has been set out, if you are in rent arrears, and also you're having problems paying your arrears, you can ask Department of Work and Pension to set up advance payment. Sorry, not advance payment, alternative payment arrangement. Does anyone know what alternative payment arrangement is? No. Alternative payment arrangement is where instead of you directly paying your landlord rent and arrears, they pay your from then on. They pay directly to your landlord, but you have to request it. It's not going to happen automatically. You have to request it, saying I want alternative payment arrangement. That means from then on, it takes about a month to administer it. Then from then on, the housing element of universal credit will go direct to your landlord. And if there is arrears, then you can say, can you also take us about 5%? Because they can take more, but if it's going to cause you financial hardship.
But take from what?
Take from your personal allowance. Yeah.
But if I work and do not have personal allowance?
Well, if you don't work, then obviously if you're working, and are you still getting universal credit to top it up, or you're not?
Sometimes, because when I have been working enough, I don't get it when I'm in the housing element. But when I haven't been working enough, then I get it.
Okay. So then, in your case, there are a number of layers. One is, of course, your income is fluctuating, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you see? So I'm afraid you're a classic example where you're gonna have to think about. You're gonna have to think about this. Budgeting, you're gonna have to, where you're gonna have to think about ways to save in case something goes pear-shaped.
If something goes wrong, I need to have some money.
That's one thing. The other thing is instruct DWP to pay housing element directly to your
It is done already, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you receive any personal allowance, you should be instructing DWP to take at least 5% of your personal allowance directly to your
But if there is no any personal allowance, from what should they will take some surrender?
That's true. So then the question is, if there is no money, what else can you do?
Yes.
I mean, the reality is, that's what's causing a lot of problems. Now, that's why a lot of people are going to food banks.
No, but how the landlord gets the money?
When it comes to landlord, first thing is, obviously, alternative payment arrangement, that's one thing. The other thing you want to look at is discretionary housing payment. Discretionary housing payment is where local authority, whichever local council you're part of, if you're having problems caused by a benefit system, you can apply for discretionary housing payment for the council to make up the shortfall to make sure you don't lose your home.
What way?
You need to make an application for discretionary housing.
Application to whom?
To the local council.
The local council?
Who's
what I say in this application?
Okay, so who's your landlord?
Name? No, the name of the company is got the property.
No. Who is your landlord? No, sorry. Who's your local authority?
Enfield.
Enfield. So there we go. So let me show you. Let me give an example, but it's worth you every single one of you knowing. Yeah. So was that internet, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, internet. Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. So look. So now, let's say. So Enfield.
Yes.
So.
Because I'm thinking about it long time, because it was done in April that requested to repair rent arrears to the universal credit, but I was advised that they do not pay anything on top of it.
Here you go.
And if I do not have this support for me, then they cannot take it what is not existing.
There we go.
Not 5%, not 10.
There we go. Oops. And how do you apply? There we go. There you go.
This
Yeah. You're sitting, here you go. There we go.
Oh.
There you go.
There you
go. There we go. Enfield Council. Yeah? Now, each boroughs have their own way, but we're dealing with in the end, especially.
But how to get this on internet?
Yeah, it is go to the council website.
Council website?
There you go.
Enfield Council?
Enfield.
Yes.
Go down. Discretionary housing payment, extra help with rent and council tax.
And the 13 is credit only.
And then you apply for discretionary housing payment.
I can apply for it.
Yeah, of course.
Myself?
You can apply for yourself, yes. When you apply, they will call you for an interview.
And they will cover for it.
Yeah, it's designed for those who are struggling financially due to universal credit. So there we go. Sorry, I'm just gonna everywhere.
It's interesting. I wondered also, Ripon. I know because Ripon has used to do debt advice here, and he's waved a magic wand and helped a lot of our clients in the past to negotiate debts that they have down to really, lows of 1p a week or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Any tips?
Absolutely. Now, do you remember I was telling about Financial Conduct Authority? Yeah? Financial Conduct Authority says to every single lender, if someone is struggling financially, listen to them. Respond to their financial problems. So I use Financial Conduct Authority's rules to say this person is struggling and this person can't afford to pay more than £1 a month. And through that, I was able to set up a £1 to never pay. It's because any offer that you make, you have to make an offer by filling in a budget sheet. Do you remember the same budget sheet that we talked about how you spend? It's the same budget sheet you have to follow to show to your lender you can't pay more than £1 a month. So, same budget sheet they can use to plan ahead for your deposit for a holiday. You can use the same budget sheet to make sure you can say, I can't afford to pay more than £1 a month. And that's how you have it.
So you get in touch with the lender and you send them a budget sheet and you simply say, £1 a month is the most I can afford to pay. And then they normally accept that.
They would accept it because they have to, because any organisation is working in the money world or debt world, they are bound by the rules of the Financial Conduct Authority. And Financial Conduct Authority says that if someone is struggling and is telling you the person is struggling, listen to them and listen to their financial position, accept what they can offer based on the circumstance rather than asking for the contractual amount. So in other words, fairness overrides contractual agreement.
And so, it might be fair to say maybe that actually, although being homeless or having been homeless is normally never a benefit in any way, if there is any way that it can work to your advantage, it's if you're negotiating down debt payments. Because if you're homeless, then you have nothing. And most people who are owing money to these organisations will be in a better situation than you. It's something that can help you to get the costs right down.
Did you say Ripon helps clients here?
Yeah, Ripon, unfortunately, we've lost Ripon. He's coming back here today for a special guest appearance, but he used to come every fortnight. However, the good news is we do have another service here every Tuesday, which is called Release, and they also will do this.
And what time do they come?
They are here literally all day Tuesday. But
do you have to make an appointment?
Best way is to make an appointment or just come here Tuesday morning as early as you can, ask to go on their list and you'll get booked in that day. But you can book in advance,
Can I book today then, please?
Yeah, of course, book you in for Tuesday.
Perfect.
Right.
Any other questions? No?
No, as I understand that if there is no money, I am not receiving the support from Universal Credit, that means rent arrears cannot be deducted from it.
That is true. Now, speaking
and nothing can be done about it.
Well, there is discretionary housing payment. There is, if you can negotiate with your landlord to say, could you please reduce the rent? You can give it a go, but I doubt it's going to happen.
But
if you want to negotiate with the landlord to reduce the rent.
To reduce the rent?
You can give it a go.
But I guess it is not like
So that's what it is. Current system, unfortunately, is not designed to help those who are claiming benefits. It's sad, but it's true. Hence, if you see this Homes for All campaign on Universal Credit, it's going to go London-wide soon. In fact, I'm leading it. So have a look, see what you think. And it's going to happen soon. And that's one of those things that we're raising, that it's causing more financial hardship than actually sorting out problems. So yes, any other questions?
Yes, also as she was saying about the rent. My one is opposite the council tax. Can I get a, what do you call it, hardship?
Although it says this covers council tax support, with you it will be slightly, make a note of this. Discretionary housing payment, although it's primarily for housing, But for you, it will be this one.
Will be which one?
Which borough is it?
Waltham Forest.
There we go. It's called discretionary reduction of council tax.
But they need lots of evidence, all bank statements, everything.
Sorry?
Lots of evidence is what money is there.
Yeah, in the end, what they want to see that you're struggling financially. You're struggling financially. If you've got any other kind of major problems, tell them.
Even do not go.
And when I apply for this, what is the next step?
You fill in a form.
Yeah, online, yeah.
Yeah, evidence, here you go. Evidence, income and expense. Look, income and expenditure, which is this one. Literally, you need it for everything. Do you see?
So what was the thing I had to do?
Especially council tax.
Oh, copy that.
So each borough has its own ways of doing things.
Of council tax.
Okay.
So go online for that, yeah?
It's all online these days. There you go. Utility bill, evidence of rent and mortgage, all that
All
jazz.
the details with payslips, bank statements.
Yeah. They
They
want to
know
see
how
you're
much money
struggling.
And this hardship, is it a loan or is it a grant?
This is basically where it's not a loan or a grant. It's basically they will reduce your council tax payment.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what instead of you paying £1,000, they say okay. In this case, you don't have to pay 1,000.
But what is the council tax? I guess I don't get it.
Hmm?
What is council tax payment?
Who wants to tell Aya what is council tax? What is council tax? Why do you pay council tax?
I have been hearing this expression, but I thought
Go on, Catherine. Go on.
that I'm not involved with it.
That's what, go on, Catherine. Tell Aya what is council tax.
I don't even know what it's called myself.
All right. You know when
I get confused about that.
well, have you got bins that need to be
Dustbins, yeah.
Dustbin needs to be taken away. Have you got let's say roads that need cleaning?
Yeah.
What?
Roads that
clean.
yeah.
You know, you've got lights outside your house put there by council.
I thought you said roads. No.
So basically, council, you pay council a tax to your local council to provide public service.
To provide public service.
Service. So like you're making sure your roads are clean, make sure bins are collected in time.
What roads? You said?
Road. Yeah. And also, for example, you know, social services need money. You know, when children are in care, taken by the council, they need to be funded. It comes from the council. So the council tax provides money so the council can do its public duties.
So who used to pay it before this council tax used to come in?
Well, council tax has been around for a very long time. You may call some other things, but that's what it is. Yeah. How do you think local councils get their funding from? One of many things is council tax. Anything else?
I guess I'm not paying it.
Well, you need to find out why you're not paying. Are you paying?
Why?
Yeah.
I'm paying rent. I have an address to pay rent and electricity.
How many people are living in the property?
How many? Maybe some 5, 6.
Right. So there are rules.
Most of it.
So maybe your landlord is already paying.
Maybe a landlord already paid.
Your landlord is paying. So your landlord will be responsible for paying council tax because your landlord is proprietor. You need to talk to your landlord who is paying and whether you should be paying. By default, if there is no arrangement with you, it's very much likely your landlord is paying.
Landlord? Yes, because landlord is in the typing messages that use it.
Then you will not pay. Not pay.
Yeah? Anything else?
But
If you're living with what?
with share.
The thing my landlord was telling me you are not
Share.
allowed to take health benefit in this program.
Do you know why?
You don't know.
Alright, it's Does anyone want to have a guess as to why his landlord is saying that you're not allowed to get housing benefit?
In this house.
Say that again, why you're not?
So he was telling me you are not allowed to take house benefit in this property.
In the property where you live?
Do you know what? A lot of landlords are
doing that now.
Massive discrimination. Now, basically, say no DSS, which is the old word for housing benefits, and they're saying we don't want people who need the state to pay for their rent because they know that people have so many problems with universal credit, which now pays the housing benefit, and they don't want that risk. They want people who are in employment.
There we go.
So that's where you live now, yeah?
Yeah.
There we are. Does that answer your question?
But if you, for instance, lose your job and have to claim housing benefit, you can bet your landlord would prefer that than not getting paid the rent.
Anyway, I don't know.
A lot of landlords are doing just that, I'm afraid. They're avoiding taking on housing benefit claimants.
Anyway, at the universal credit, they was asking me for all details from the landlord, even from the company what he represents, Havana Properties, which is LTD, I don't know which company. They was telling me the house, it's a house was taken by landlord by mortgage. So he have like a couple of properties like this, which is he put all these houses in rent, you know. He paid, for example, 1,000 for the house, but he paid like 2,300 each month from the person who is living there. So it's like kind of business. And they was telling me, no problem, you are allowed to take the benefit. We're gonna speak with him and he's gonna be agree with us. He was telling me like, he told me you are not allowed, but they was telling me yes, there is no problem.
So that's good then.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there are no rules around it. I mean, if you feel as though your landlord is being a rogue landlord, you may want to complain against that landlord to the local council. Because anyone who's a landlord, depending on which borough you live in order for you to be a landlord, you have to get a license to be a landlord. And so you have to find out which borough you're in and whether that council has that license policy. So if the landlord is a licensed landlord, he can complain against that landlord to the council. Yeah, that's one way. But of course the implication might be the landlord might take revenge against you, saying, you made a complaint against me, I want you out. Of course. That's normal, So you just think about that. It's one of those things, I'm afraid. Tenants these days are about
the thing I have on the house agreement until June. After that, do I need to renew to make a new one or?
Okay, so currently, are you on a fixed term tenancy? Right. So if it's a fixed term tenancy and there is no future fixed term tenancy, you can request a landlord for another fixed term if you wanted to. If not, by default, it will become like a monthly tenancy. By default.
I understand.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't know if on universal credit they're gonna ask me again for the contract of the house or something.
Now, if you've already submitted your tenancy agreement, is it a short-term tenancy? They will have a record anyway. Now, if it's a new claim you made, they may ask you to provide your tenancy agreement. If it's an old one, ongoing one, they should have their record. But don't get it. Universal credit, people don't know how it's working already. So it's best for you to keep hold of this record in case they ask for it.
Maybe I have it.
Good. Well done.
They just can roll out from universal credit.
Sorry?
They roll out of universal credit. How can roll out of it? How can lose it?
Oh, they've already rolled it out. Now, any claims you make now, it has to be universal credit, unless there are really, really exceptional rules.
No, how I can lose it? How I can lose the universal credit?
Or you can use or lose.
Lose.
But you can lose universal credit by benefit sanctioning, if you've been sanctioned.
Leaving the job itself.
If you get a job, then obviously, and that pays enough, you don't need to...
No, if I leave the job, it said that they will stop the universal credit for 3 years.
Well, I mean, if they say they're stopping you for 3 years, they do give you a reason why.
Because I left the job itself.
And then you have to ask yourself why you left the job.
Why I left?
Yeah. So obviously, any decisions made by Department of Work and Pension, you have the right to challenge it if the decision is unfair. So you have to think about mandatory reconsideration, and you may have to think about then going to the first year tribunal. There are processes to challenge the LP's decision, and they do get things wrong many times, and that's why there is a judicial process to challenge the Department of Work and Pension. So let's say if they've decided that they want to sanction you, for example, now, and they'll send a letter confirming that from the date that they've sent you the letter on the paper, from then on you have a month to challenge the decision, and it's called a mandatory reconsideration process. You have a month and after, yeah.
We've got
no, I say I was wondering how I can lose it. I am hoping I'm not in this right to lose the universal credit, but I thought how can I lose it? For instance, if I'm fired from job.
Normally, if you are fired from the job, then your universal credit is okay.
Is it okay?
Because you did not leave.
But if I leave it, then it can be stopped.
Yeah.
So this is your role.
If you left, yeah.
Because I was leaving job before, but I was not losing the support.
Sometimes you're lucky if the job centre doesn't realise.
If they do not realise it.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Straight away.
If I leave the job, it means that it's finished with the support.
Thank you, by the way. Take care. Any other questions?
When I'm doing a hardship loan, would I get help or do I have to do it myself?
What do you mean hardship loan?
Like, not hardship loan, what is,
there's a couple of loans, but...
No, not all.
Housing payment.
The council tax for hardship payment.
DHP. Yeah. Discretionary housing payment.
Yeah.
Yes, so do I do that by myself or do I get help? Is it hard to fill out?
Yeah, I've not done one before.
No, I was just a few questions and then they called me.
Now explain your story. Think about it. Anything you say, you should always think about how you're telling your story.
Yeah.
It's all about...
So they call me for interview?
Yeah. So basically, when you say, oh, I'm struggling, why am I struggling? What's the cause of struggle? Do you know when we talk about what's your cause?
All this I would have to put online.
Yeah. Do you know when we talk about what's the cause of your debt? Same thing. Why do you want it? Why are you in financial situation? What's the cause of you applying for it? It's always look at the cause and explain it chronologically, date by date by date. And if you have proof, add evidence, and that's how it is. Anything?
What was it called in Waltham Forest? Do you remember it?
I've written it down.
You looked at
you've written it down?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've written it down, but I was wondering, that's why I asked, do I have to do it myself one?
We talked about a couple of things. We talked about discretionary housing payment.
Oh, discretionary reduction of council tax.
Yeah.
When I see these,
Yeah.
You could ask Sean to help.
Yeah, please.
So there are two things. Discretionary housing payment, that's really related to housing and rent arrears. And discretionary council tax reduction.
It's my council tax.
Yeah. So discretionary council tax reduction is really where you're asking the council to reduce the council tax bill.
Because I haven't paid it for a long time.
Have you not?
No.
Ah, I remember you saying, yeah, that's right.
I'm in big trouble with it.
Ah, right, you definitely need to send the list on Tuesday and then maybe get Sean to help you with the discretionary reduction application. Or they might even do that.
On Tuesday, yeah. I was thinking that myself.
Yeah.
What time on Tuesday should I come?
Let me have a look at the calendar afterwards and I'll see if I can book you straight in.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead.
So I have now like 4 years living here in this country. Do I am allowed to apply for a house?
Apply for a house?
Like my house, instead of paying rent to pay to the council?
So just to understand, are you thinking of mortgage? Buying your own home?
Something like that.
Right. Does anyone else have a go at it, or shall I dig in?
I think, do you mean apply for a council house?
Yeah.
Oh, a council house. I don't know the answer to that. You can probably apply, but I don't know. But I mean, the waiting lists are so long.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost not worth it, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah. Councils throughout UK have responsibility due to a couple of things. One is to, if you're homeless, to house you or rehouse you. They do that in exceptional circumstance. They will look at things like, do you have local connection? Are you in priority need? The question with you would be, do you have any, are you in priority needs? What that means is, are you vulnerable? Do you have kids? Do you have children? Do you have disability? Usually with single men, they think you're deemed not to be in priority need. And so therefore, firstly, they'll put you on the list, and secondly, it's very unlikely you'll be getting a home in near future, because the councils throughout Britain are struggling finding homes for even for those who are in priority needs. That's the issue. Now, the other duty they do have, this is where they might be able to help you, is to give you advice. So if you give them a call, which I'm not sure which borough you're part of, which borough are you part of? Would be Harringay. So if you go on Harringay's website, it's really rubbish, to be honest. Yeah. So go on Harringay's website, look for housing options or housing support. Obviously, when it comes to giving a home, it's going to be a tough one, but they still have to give you advice on how to get hold of accommodation. So that's that. Obviously, mortgage is a different one. It's where you have to apply for a loan for a mortgage, and you have to deal with the lender. And you check which lender is out there to get that fund for a mortgage. But that's a separate one.
How long have you been at your current address, Victor?
4 years now.
4 years?
Yeah.
Fine. So, I mean, you could always just go to Harringay Council and just turn up there, couldn't you? You'd have to sit and wait in the housing office.
Yeah.
And then you'd be able to see an advisor, and they could tell you what help they can give you.
Yeah.
And they could explain as well, so that you would know. Maybe even if they say they can't help you now, they may say, but if you lose your job or you lose your home, then we can do this. It's worth going to see.
Yeah,
You just have to queue for a long time.
Yeah. They have to give you advice anyway.
Yeah.
Usually, and they might say, okay, in this situation, why don't you contact this estate? What do you call those? Landlord's agents.
Oh, letting agents.
Letting agents. They might give you a list of letting agent details where you can contact and say, okay, contact these, see where you can go. They accept claims for housing benefit, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Anything else? Was it helpful? Useful?
Very helpful. Yes.
Good. Good. So now the session is closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've covered a lot.
We did. Fantastic. Can I get you guys to fill out an